And now on to Japan. It was an important day for the country. A Kairos rocket was launching today. But just 5 seconds after the takeoff, the rocket exploded. It burst into flames. The Kairos rocket was made by Space One. It's a private space company. The launch was to test Japan's private space sector, but the explosion has spooked observers. Because while failures are commonplace for space agencies, private space companies have taken it to a new level. The question is, why can't they get it right? And what risks do these explosions pose? Here's our report.
Kairos. In Greek, it means the right moment. That's what the Space One rocket was waiting for. The 18-meter Kairos rocket was all prepared. It was geared for takeoff. The launch took place in western Japan. Hundreds of spectators gathered. They all had high hopes for it. If it had succeeded, Space One would have been the first private company to put a rocket into orbit.
We have ignition and liftoff of Kairos.
Just 5 seconds after takeoff, it exploded. The rocket burst into flames, leaving behind a large cloud of smoke. Space One scrambled into action. The fire was soon put out. No one was hurt. But how did the rocket burst within just seconds? That's something Space One will have to investigate.
Approximately 5 seconds after liftoff, measures were taken to suspend the flight. A task force has been set up and the cause is under investigation.
Space One is a private company. It was established in 2018 by a team of Japanese tech businesses. Since then, it has chased space glory. The plan was to put the satellite into orbit. It was supposed to happen 51 minutes after takeoff. But the rocket didn't even last 5 seconds. The cause for the explosion is not known yet. But it is not the first hurdle for Space One. It has faced parts shortages, it has battled technical issues, and all of this delayed the Kairos launch. But even after takeoff, the problems didn't end for the company. They will now probe this launch and course correct. Crashes are not new for private space companies. They may have joined the space race, but they don't often get it right on the first try, or even the second. Case in point, SpaceX. Its Starship has crashed not just once, but twice. But it hasn't bothered Elon Musk. He says crashes are important. It helps the company understand the problems. So for private space companies, they have become commonplace. But not everyone has that luxury. Take national space agencies, for example. They run on public funding, so they cannot go about crashing rockets for the sake of research. 1 or 2 attempts are expected and normal. But SpaceX believes it could have at least a dozen crashes before it gets it right. For that, you need very deep pockets. Because imagine the money that'll be spent. Even when cash is not a constraint, there are risks of space debris. In 2022, a huge piece of space junk smashed into a sheep farm. That was in Southeast Australia. A hunk of metal was linked to a SpaceX Crew 1 mission. SpaceX has not confirmed it, but it raises concerns. Of course, chances of humans being killed by space debris are low, but it can happen. Which brings us to the space race. It's getting crowded. Over 100 orbital launches are performed every year. The number will only rise in the coming years. Private companies are behind a lot of these launches. They are testing rockets, they are crashing them. And that means space is becoming crowded with junk parts, which means the risk of death and injury will grow. They say try and try again until you succeed. But how many rockets do you destroy before you give up?